Imagine you're a developer. Now imagine you've been tasked with taking a huge franchise, famous for its snappy, responsive control, and then been asked to make a touchscreen compatible port or spin-off. No, don't cry, we'll get through this. Super Mario Run, Nintendo's first touchscreen game after their earlier, now closed, social networking experiment Miitomo, was great. It was great because it was developed by a proper team within Nintendo that realised almost immediately that a virtual D-pad and buttons was a stupid idea, and any effort to throw the company's mascot onto a device with a vastly different control interface would need to be tailored to fit. One tap, auto acceleration, and one tap. Inspired, I'm sure, by Pasta Games' continued efforts to move modern 2D Rayman to touchscreen devices, Super Mario Run worked. Just as Rayman Jungle and Fiesta Run had worked, just as Rayman Adventures and Mini continue to work. In all of these examples, controls are designed around the device and its inherent limitations, and in turn, stages and gameplay are designed around the controls. As platform games go, these are masterclasses in how to simplify whilst maintaining depth and nuance in a game experience. These titles feel no less Mario or no less Rayman for being divorced from their traditional homes. These are great touchscreen games, as they were great home console and dedicated handheld games. Other developers would carve their own paths. Cave, the Japanese developer most commonly associated with bullet hell shoot-'em-ups, garnered newfound fame early on in the iOS and tablet boom by porting some of their boutique arcade shooters to iPad, with wildly adapted and simplified control schemes. They worked, but they weren't perfect. Control here was altered so that your ship would fire continuously, akin to maybe the auto acceleration in Mario, Rayman or many other touchscreen racers, and movement is handled by letting you place your finger and then having your craft move relative to the motion of your digit. It allows tremendous analog freedom of movement. However, this introduced a new issue whereby this move from digital control meant that certain ports felt easier than veterans of the arcade may have remembered. Enter the Donpatch Maximum, a touch device exclusive entry in the Donpatch series. Here enemy patterns, stage lengths, scoring systems and of course controls are altered to match the device the game is being played on. Cave, like Pasta Games and Nintendo, understood that a touchscreen will never be a one-to-one representation of a controller and adapted their development to suit. Electronic Arts, during their stewardship of the Tetris franchise, and more recently Network, never received any of these memos. 2020's free-to-play Tetris is not only riddled with adverts before every run, and bare bones. I mean, despite being a top-grossing game, some 4 months after release we still have nothing other than a marathon mode. But it also just doesn't feel very good to play as a result of Network and EA before them failing to consider how best to alter the Tetris format to suit a platform without the precision of a keyboard or a digital D-pad. To their small credit, the swipe system is functional. Left and right swipe and hold to move pieces, a single tap on either side of the screen to rotate in a desired direction, hard swipe down to hard drop, and a tap of the whole box to store or retrieve a piece. It works, but it just isn't that much fun to use. You will make mistakes. You will become flustered at higher speeds. It's a way to kill 2 minutes whilst you wait for a bus, and nothing else. As far back as 2012 though, many of these issues had already been solved by Dawn of Play's gorgeous Dream of Pixels. As described by the development team themselves, it's a falling block game about unpacking Tetramino blocks in place of packing. A grid descends from the top of the screen and you must cut away the shapes of the Tetraminos presented to you. Tapping on the stack has the game make a best guess as to your intended rotation, but a small drag in any direction will turn the piece. It's immediate, tactile, and without obfuscation. The challenge here comes from when your placement of shapes leaves stranded island pieces. These loose pieces of the grid will only rejoin the main stack when you clear a line. Each line cleared then means the floating chunks move upwards the same amount of line space. What's remarkable about this reverse system is how well it still asks you to consider the main principles of Tetris. You can't make cuts willy-nilly, as each piece you dislodge must have a clear route off the bottom of the screen. It may not be you as the player twisting and turning a tetramino on its descent to perform a T-spin, but you still have to engage your brain to visualise a way for each piece to work free of the huddle. It's a caretaking strategy puzzle game, just as Tetris was and is. The game offers 4 variations on the main play mode. A calmer beginner's mode that starts with several minutes of very slow approach to allow you to warm up your noggin before the stack begins to speed up. A pro mode that begins at around the stage the initial mode increases in velocity to allow seasoned players to skip the tedious crawl at the start, much like beginning a game of Tetris on level 9 or above. And 2 more challenging modes that introduce holes in your stack or generate garbage blocks in what would otherwise be clear space. Dream of Pixels also features a puzzle mode that asks you to consider the order of piece placement to cut away a block pictorial image to nothing. Whilst it was my least favourite way to play the game, it offers additional longevity and challenge that may suit players wanting something a bit more cerebral and less time sensitive than the regular modes. This is not an official Tetris game, and yet feels closer in intention to a Pajitnov creation than most touchscreen efforts at the block dropping formula. Dawn of Play clearly understood from their initial design brief the limitations that they'd have to contend with. Rather than cram an idea together using existing design cobbled to fit around the unique challenges of a screen that was, in turn, the controller, this small team instead extrapolated what was enjoyable about a Tetris-like experience and applied it to a bespoke creation that made stringent choices to embrace the platform and its strengths and weaknesses. Dream of Pixels is an intelligent, artistic take on Tetris, and one that I'd encourage anyone with a touch device to seek out.